Hi, welcome to the show where we are going to have a discussion on a very interesting and exciting topic negotiation skills, which comes under your MMPM02, Block 2, Unit 5. And I am Dr. Ashok Kumar, Assistant Professor in Marketing and Strategy, trying to take you through the subject. Negotiation skills is something probably which every Indian inherits. It may sound like a cliche, but the fact is, without negotiation, probably no business ever moves, no transaction ever gets complete, and no business ever makes profit. Why we talk about negotiation? Probably negotiation is a kind of activity which is in the blood of every Indian. As a child, when you grow up, we try to negotiate with our family members. As you really try to attain, kind of younghood, then probably we try to interact with our fellow friends, fellow colleagues. And when you deal with anyone who is involved in a direct or indirect way of doing business, we always try to make it a point to try and negotiate. Why do we negotiate? Because we are not living in a perfect kind of a business scenario where things are very much fixed, things can never be negotiated, and we all understand that things will be negotiated. So that really kind of comes up us people where we try to go for a very smart negotiation with anyone who comes across with in our life, and in any format of business negotiation is the key. Why I say negotiation is the key? Because this is a fundamental aspect of life, and this serves as a communication process where you are trying to reach agreements. With whom you are trying to reach agreements? You are trying to reach agreement with anyone who is directly or indirectly involved in your life. And of course, not everyone is going to be sharing your same kind of interest. When you sense that there is opposing interest, and you are going to be trying to put forward your own kind of interest as well, so you are off for negotiation. This can be applicable in various contexts such as business, industry, and even family. You might be surprised to know that how come family is really going to be subject to negotiation. If you get up early in the morning and try to see all your activities that you go through in your entire day, and you try to understand what you have really dealt with, which kind of people you have dealt with, probably even in your own family you are surprisingly doing some kind of negotiation. Give me this in order to get this from me, or if you don't give me this, I'm not going to do this for you. So this if and but kind of a scenario is again part of your negotiation. In business, it's not give it to me or else I won't give it to you. It is like, give me this so that I can give it back to you. So you are protecting your own interest, and you are also not trying to sideline the interest of the other guy who is in front of you. So this negotiation is going to be emphasizing on the need for practice with seasoned negotiators for effective learning. You cannot just overnight become a negotiator, and many times you might have really observed in your own daily life that you are more like a failure than a successful negotiator. Why? Because you don't know the skills required to negotiate smartly. Well, is there a skill? Of course, there is a skill which has got to be mastered by smart negotiators. And if you really try to understand what the skills are, probably you have got to really try to learn it from the people who are very seasoned negotiators. They are going to be negotiating almost everything on this planet. You talk about diplomatic relationships, you talk about business relationships, you talk about family relationships, you talk about anything where more than one person is involved, there is always a very vast scope for negotiation. So that is a mandatory must, which everyone must to understand in order to succeed in business. Why do people negotiate? Well, the primary goal is to achieve the goal for both the sides. I want to protect my own interest. You also want to protect your own interest. You are going to be negotiating with me, maybe negotiate very hard with me. I am also going to be negotiating very hard with you because I cannot just let go my own side of interest, my own side of goal. So when there are mutually exclusive goals which needs to be attained by people who are at the other side of the table, probably they have got to be brought back to a particular kind of a point or a particular kind of a zone where they are coming to agreements with each other. You like this, I don't like that. I like this, you don't like that. So probably let us sit down and sort it out. That sit down and sort it out is again part of negotiation, and probably that is the objective of negotiation. One, two, you are going to be aspiring for a win-win situation where both parties find satisfaction with the outcome. If it is a win-lose or lose-lose or lose-win situation, What I mean when I talk about these different, kind of ideas like win, 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 lose, 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 and lose, win. In both four scenarios, someone is losing and someone is winning. That might just work wonders for one, once in a blue moon kind of a thing. But if you really try to prolong this kind of relationship, if it is particularly prolonged business relationship, then probably you cannot really try and operate in a scenario where you are always the winner and the other guy is a loser. A loser can only surrender and say, fine, I don't mind losing it out, but that can only really happen once. Second time, he is not really taking it so lightly. He may not really like it at all. So when you are going to go for negotiation, it has got to end with a win-win situation for both. I win, you also win, or you win, I also win. It's not that I have got to lose so that you are going to win, or you have got to lose so that I can only win. So it is not a sports, or it's not a game where someone has got to lose. It's not, that there can be a scenario where both the business partners are going to be coming to agreement with a particular kind of a deal where nobody loses anything. Someone might be losing something tangible, someone might be losing something intangible, but end of the day, there is no serious sacrifice being done by both the sides. So that is what the objective of negotiation is. How do you define what negotiation is? You might be wondering, do I really require to understand what is the definition of negotiation? Well, because you are learners, so you must understand what exactly is the perfect definition of negotiation. So if you go by the official language of how to define negotiation, I would rather put it this way. It is a process for resolving conflicts among parties involving modification of demands to achieve a mutually acceptable solution. So what are you trying to do? You are trying to resolve conflicts. You might be wondering, is always there going to be a kind of a conflict? Yes. If you are doing business, if you are going to be winning excessively and winning it at the cost of me, then of course there is going to be a conflict. If not today, then tomorrow. But it is going to be a conflict. So your first priority is to resolve the conflict among parties. How do you do it? You do it by involving modification of demands. You are demanding too much, I am demanding too less. So this cannot really continue for long. I have got to really find out that your level of demand and my level of demand, they always are going to be matching perfectly. If it is an unmatched demand, then, well, as I told you minutes back, it might just continue for a very short period of time. At the end of the day, you are going to be also trying to be very much, kind of protective about your own self-interest. So it has got to again achieve a mutually acceptable solution. If it is not acceptable and if it is not acceptable mutually, then this is no solution. There is no definition of negotiation really happening. So it also highlights especially with customers, as unresolved conflict may lead to losses. If you are a customer and I am a seller, or I'm a kind of a manufacturer, or a service provider, so if I am going to be not really in a position to allow you your own freedom of getting things as per your own specifications, as per your own customized needs and all, then, well, you might just succumb to my kind of pressure tactics for once. Second time, you are going to be searching for options. You are going to be really moving away from me to my best competitor in the market. So in order not to allow this, because the business also understands that if a customer is going to be migrating from me to my best competitor, I might just lose him permanently. So I always wrong the apprehension of losing a customer because I was not really able to resolve the conflict that might really have taken place in the mind of a customer. So you are going to be emphasizing here what? Two things. I think three things. One, active listening is mandatory. You are supposed to listen and listen carefully, which is probably a very vanishing kind of an activity nowadays. People are not really ready to listen to anyone or anything. So you are going to be a little bit considerate of others' propositions, what the other guy is trying to tell to you. And of course, you are going to be aiming for mutually acceptable compromises. You have got to make compromises. Like I told you, whether you are dealing with your family member or you're dealing with countries diplomatically, or you're dealing in a business relationship, or you're dealing in an industry, the end result is that there have to be some kind of compromises which are mutually acceptable. And once the compromises are mutually acceptable, that really opens a lot of vistas for many things more to come. Let's understand what are the fundamental difference between selling and negotiating. You might be wondering, if I am going to be learning something about sales management, do I really need to understand what negotiating is? Of course, yes. You can't run away from the fact that you have got to be a very smart negotiator in order to be a perfect salesperson. This is a mandatory trick, you can say, or a mandatory kind of a skill set, you can say, where a salesperson's success is primarily dependent on how smart or how good a negotiator is he. So what you do in selling, you are involving yourself with identifying customers, reaching them, persuade or accept your propositions. You are going to be really going for not a random search of customers. You are identifying your customers. Who are they? Where are they? What are their choices and tastes and preferences? What do they like to really have from a company like me? Am I really producing things which are really going to be suiting their temperament, their need, their problems are going to be solved? Are they really desperate to buy from me, or there are other competitors who are really equally strong or equally good who can also offer the customer same kind of a thing? If that is what you smell, then the next stage that you do in selling is go and reach out to them. You try and really go and have a direct face-to-face kind of conversation with these kind of people. In that process, you are also persuading them to act or accept your propositions. You are persuading, and when you are persuading, you are trying to go for the first step of negotiation. You are trying to understand the psyche of the other person sitting in front of me. How does he think and feel? What are his likes and dislikes? Is he the right kind of person who is probably going to be showing interest in my kind of product and service? So when you are going for this persuasion stage, you are always keeping it in your mind that persuasion is not that easy if you do not understand the basics or the fundamentals of negotiation. In negotiation, what you really try to achieve or what your focus is on, your focus is on getting the best terms once the other side acts on their own interests. Now you have really owned over the sentiment or the emotion of the customer. He is really desperate to buy your product or kind of enjoy your services. Now you are going to be putting your own terms and conditions. Fine. If you want to get this, then you have got to agree on A, B, C or X, Y, Z. Now this is a smart way of negotiating because now you have really owned the trust of the customer. And in the real world of business, once the customer's trust is being owned, the customer is absolutely going to be surrendering to your kind of terms and conditions. Of course, the condition is that there is not a smarter or better or bigger or a greater competitor than or a producer or a service provider than you do have. What kind of negotiation approach is really working? So negotiation is not merely expressing grievances. If you say that, look, I'm not happy with this, I don't like it, I'm not into it, or I may not be really showing my preference for this. That is not really going to be helping you in the negotiation process. But you are going to be sounding a little bit more positive, little bit more authentic. You are suggesting proposals to reach and acceptable solutions. You don't agree with this, I have got this thing to offer to you. You don't really agree on this particular kind of price point, I have got a different solution for you. You don't want the color of this, you don't want this particular kind of a color of a product, I have got a different color of kind of ready to offer to you. So you are trying to expose the customer with multiple different kind of proposals, which one among them is really going to be finding a perfect chord with your customer. That is an acceptable solution. In selling situations, difference in terms, for example, price or discounts, create opportunities for negotiation. If you are observing the Indian market, why Indian market, even market beyond India, if you observe the temperament of customers, many customers fall for one, two things, like if there is a price off or if there is a discount going on, be it your volume discount or be it your value discount given in terms of giving extra product as free or trying to cut down the price of the original product to let's say 10, 20, 30%. Okay. In both the cases, these are going to be automatically creating opportunities for negotiation. Now, you are entering into almost a price war. And when you enter into price war, the only way that you can go is go south. If that is what is acceptable to you, then go and start a price war. And if there are multiple companies who are equally good or equally sensible in offering the customers the kind of product that they want or the kind of services that they really deserve, then probably again you have got to do something pretty similar. You have got to create opportunities for negotiation by lowering your prices or trying to entice the customer by giving them discounts. So if you try to understand the entire negotiating continuum overview, let's understand what really happens. A negotiation involves movement for both parties, transitioning from ideal positions to a mutually acceptable settlement point. It's like you have a buyer's kind of a zone, and you have got a seller's zone, or buyer's price and seller's price. Then you have a zone where there is no gain for the buyer, no gain for the seller. Okay, this is kind of a zone which is really ideally acceptable to both the parties. The buyer doesn't make any losses; he is not really overpaying for the product, and the seller is not trying to be underselling the product. He doesn't lose anything in terms of his own profits and losses. The buyer also doesn't lose anything in terms of getting the quality product, the specification that he wants, and all. So this is a perfectly ideal kind of a condition where both the parties, both the seller as well as the buyer, get convinced that here is a point where we have got to really try to bring ourselves up or bring ourselves down. When I say bring yourself up, the buyer always tries to bring himself up. He is really going to be trying to be, going pretty close to the seller's price. So when you're trying to go close to seller's price, the seller can also sense it that the buyer is really showing interest for my product. When the buyer is showing interest for the product, now the seller can anticipate that, and when he anticipates that the buyer is truly engrossed in my product, he is trying to also bring down its price a little bit so that the sale really takes place. See, you can really go on negotiating for the product, for the services endlessly, but the seller is desperate to quickly dispose of the product or quickly really try to create a customer if he's providing services. The buyer is also not going to be playing around too much. He has got a need to satisfy. He has got a shirt to buy, a shoe to buy, a mobile phone to buy, a water bottle to buy, or kind of book an air ticket or whatever maybe the product or service that he's looking out for. He has got to really close the deal. He cannot just endlessly keep on negotiating as if he is trying to prove his own negotiation skills to himself. It's not really done in the practical world in this particular way. So the buyer is also sensible enough and desperate enough at the same time to close the deal. So also the seller. So when both of the seller and the buyer understand that here is a product which has got to be disposed of or sold out, and here is a product which I as a customer need to really procure or purchase, then the matter ends over there. The settlement point's position is determined by the relative bargaining strength and skill of the negotiators. Sometimes you might have really wondered, well, why my friend is a better negotiator than me? Or why my friend is really able to buy products at a relatively less price than I did have really kind of done. Okay. Now, once you understand that your friend is a smarter negotiator than you, then probably you have got to question your own negotiation skills. Am I really good in negotiation? Did I really understand what really can inspire the seller to really try to lower the price or offer me extra number of products or give me some kind of other benefits which I might not have really asked for? That really requires having the negotiation skills, which is really going to be making a successful salesperson and making him abundantly successful. Okay, so what is your relative bargaining strength? Do you really operate from a point of strength or a point of weakness? Imagine a scenario where there are multiple sellers in the market and there are few buyers in the market. So do the sellers have the power, the bargaining strength, or the buyers have the bargaining strength? This is for you to think it over. Reverse. There are many number of buyers in the market. There are very restricted number of sellers in the market. And if you contrast the earlier situation with this one, you can pretty well figure out where the bargaining strength really lies. So that really makes you feel as if you are not really going to be, vulnerable to any kind of bargaining or negotiation tactics involved by, done by either the buyer or the seller. It all depends on who has got that upper hand or who has got that relatively more strength. If you have that strength, which is, possible because of either your product is excessively good quality, you are a far more superior kind of innovator, your product doesn't have any kind of match in the industry, and you can just dictate to the market, this is the product that no one else is really producing at the moment. And you can really be setting your price very high and still get it. Many good companies, what they do is they come up with a very hugely successful kind of an innovative product where they understand that this product is having that pull power to really generate the customer demand more. So they sell it at a very hectic high price. Why do they do it? And why do they really get away with it? They do it deliberately because they know the market scenario pretty well. They know that there is a craving from the customers to really try to purchase my product. Once they smell that craving, once they smell that the customer is now desperate because my product is supremely gifted and there is no one in the market who can really match to my kind of product quality, my kind of product, kind of performance, my kind of product strengths and all. So you are in a kind of a strength situation. That is what every company really aspires to maintain for as long as possible. But yeah, does it really get kind of remain in that way? That is debatable. It all depends on the industry that you are talking about, the market condition that you are talking about, the marketplace where you are available, and of course the ability of a customer to really try and show positivity or a kind of better say positivity towards your kind of product. Okay, now let's understand the dynamic nature of negotiation. Real negotiation is dynamic. It keeps on changing. You can't really have a fixed rule for that. Okay, you have got to require both sides to regularly review and modify their limits as the process unfolds. If you recall, the last time that you have really gone for buying a pretty highly expensive kind of product, and the way you have really negotiated. I'm not, of course, talking about products where the price is absolutely fixed. There is no scope for any negotiation at all. Either you pay or you just budge off. Okay, if that is the scenario, then there is no scope for negotiation. I can understand that. But yeah, there are pretty good examples where the scenario for negotiation is absolutely wide open. Okay, so what really happens is the real negotiation when it really takes place. This is really going to be unfolding as the scenario really kind of keeps on, getting out. Okay, so you tend to regularly review: is it the right price to sell my product? Or you as a customer want to review: is it the right price to really buy the product? So there is a kind of a war going on in the mind of both the seller as well as the buyer. And how long the war can continue to grow, continue to really happen? The war can happen till that moment when someone really kind of throws everything to the wind and he says that fine, now enough is enough. Now I just want to clear off my stock. Or the buyer feels that well, enough is enough. I don't have much time to really try and debate more about that. Now let us really go and have the product fast. So as I told you, as the process unfolds, you are going to be modifying your own limits. Sometimes the buyer really raises his limit. Sometimes the seller also tries to lower its limit. Look, the product which was really originally quoted as to be selling at let's say $100 is really going to be coming down to let's say 70 or 80, depending on the customer who is really standing in front of the buyer, or depending on the ability or the willingness, rather, is a better word, the willingness of the customer to really pay for that particular kind of price. Of course, if you talk about the ordinary markets where you are going to be dealing with perishable goods, this is really going to be a very rough deal. Okay, the seller understands that my product is perishable, I have got to really quickly dispose it off. The buyer also smells it, that the seller has got to dispose it off, and he cannot just keep on waiting until the perishable products really achieves 40%, 50% of its perishability. No, I'm not really going to be waiting for that far. So what he does is he is waiting for the most opportune moment. What is the most opportune moment? Where the seller is really going to be showing their desperation. And the buyer understands that, well, this is the time when I got to enter into the selling and buying zone. He enters into that zone and figures it out that yes, I really have the ability now to really try to lower the price a little bit more than which otherwise would have been possible. And the seller can also smell that. Now the buyer is in a total tearing hurry. So if he is not going to buy the product, he may really lose out on the importance of the product. So what he does is he also waits for that moment when the buyer is really showing excessive desperation for purchasing that particular kind of product. So it really works both ways. Okay. And it also emphasizes on the ongoing adjustments made by negotiating during the negotiation. So you are going to be making a kind of a dynamic adjustment, like I told you. You are going to be making ongoing adjustments as and when the negotiation really happens. Why it needs to be done? Because there is always the second side to the story. The second side to the story is that it is not that I have a product, I don't want to sell it at any cost. or I don't have a product and I do not really want to purchase it at any cost. When you say at any cost, I do not want the product, then either you are not a buyer or the seller is not a perfect seller. So they have a need. They have a need to accept and sell. So how do you contextualize the entire sales process? Just give me 1 second. Sorry. Yeah, in the sales context, the ideal position for a salesperson is to maximize product benefits. That's perfectly understood. As a salesperson, your role is to maximize your product benefits. While what the customer really aims from this, he also aims for maximizing benefits at a lower price. And if you are an Indian customer who is very much sensitive towards price, in fact, there is a joke. The joke is, well, Indians don't buy the product, they buy the price. I am an Indian also. I also buy the price. For me, the product is as important as its price is. So if it is really available at a lower price, we are going to be maximizing our benefit to that. Okay. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to maximize your product benefits as a salesperson, and the customer is going to maximize its benefit at a lower price. Okay. So entire the sales process, if you will try to understand from the germination of it to the ultimate closing of it, both parties are likely to move from their ideal positions to eventually reach a mutually agreeable state for the transaction to occur. Any transactions, forget about the fixed prices kind of stuff. Okay, any transaction in order to really become a successful transaction have to really ensure that the parties at both the ends are going to be moving a little bit further away from their own comfort zone. This is inevitable. Why? Because if I am really too strict, too disciplined, too rigid as a seller, I may not really be able to create a customer or get a customer, as they say. Sometimes you have to really try to bring your guards down, try to understand what the customer really wants from you, and of course, then only the sale can really happen. So that is a psychology which is also very well understood by the average, customer. He is also smart enough to really try to make you feel desperate about why the product is not going to be disposed of pretty quickly. So how you really go for different steps of negotiation? Is it a one-time stop kind of a thing, or is it really going to be going through a different steps or different stages, as they say? Okay, so the first is, as they say, is you're preparing for it. Okay, in preparation stage, if you really sound a little bit more practical, you are trying to understand what my objectives are. You have got to prioritize your objectives. Do I really want to dispose of my products, quickly sell it off, or I want to really sell it to the right kind of customers at the right price, or I want to sell it to customers who are ignorant about my products true price or original price, and I'm really going to be making a pretty good quick buck out of it. If that is what you really feel, then you have got to prioritize your objectives. Okay, and of course, while prioritizing your objective, you have got to ensure that you are sounding a little bit more realistic. That is really going to be the most important thing in the entire first stage of negotiation, the preparation stage. You should be sounding a little bit more real. Unreal kind of thing is going to be generating euphoria for the first time. Second time around, the customer is really going to be a little bit more knowledgeable, a little bit more informed, a little bit more driven by data, and he is not really going to be showing the same level of enthusiasm as he has shown in the first instance. So it is better that you are not really going to be trying to hook on the customers for the very first time and ignore them the next time around, and you say that fine, I have got my customer, my job is over. No, your job is not over. Your job starts from there. If the customer really understands that yes, I have not been hoodwinked by the manufacturer or the seller, then I am going to be really feeling like coming back to this particular guy. So you have again got to understand the opponent's objectives. Who is sitting in front of me? What is his objective? Why does he really want to buy the product that I want to sell? And of course, you have got to be a little bit more scientific, a little bit more critical about gathering information on buyers' attitudes, personalities, everything related to the buyer. Who the person is, what kind of temperament does he possess? Is he going to be negotiating hard, or is he just negotiating for the sake of negotiation, or is he negotiating because his friends are good negotiators and he has seen his friends negotiating, or is he negotiating because he just is not interested to pay more price for his petty product like this? You have got to understand who the customer is, and what kind of attitude the customer really possesses. Is he really a little bit more understanding, little bit more informed? If that is the case, then your high price quotation is never going to work. In fact, this is going to be backfiring because the customer has done his research regarding what is the right or true price of your product. If he knows it in advance and you are trying to really make a fool out of him, then 99% of chances you are going to be a mega abject failure. That is what you have got to try to keep in your mind. So you have got to again ensure a simple and flexible strategy, especially in group negotiations. When you are negotiating with a group, that is the most difficult thing that can probably ever happen in a business kind of a negotiation kind of a skill. Okay, so when you're dealing with a group members are different. Their culture is different. Their sensitivity is different. The way they have been kind of conditioned to believe with the negotiation stages and all, that is also different. And you are dealing with a different person on the table. So if you find that there is a different person and each person is totally diametrically opposite from each other, then you have got a hell lot of tasks in front of you. Okay, you cannot just have this one umbrella kind of approach to deal with multiple people who are part of the same group. One guy must be really pretty strong in the finance part of it. One guy must be looking for some kind of human touch. He's a HR guy. One guy must be looking for what is the sales potential of this particular product. If it is an institutional kind of selling happening, one guy must be observing what is the R&D, kind of perspective of this, research and development perspective of it. It can really be seen and evaluated from multiple perspectives by multiple people. And you, as the sole sales guy, trying to negotiate with an entire group consisting of totally different kind of people from different walks of different domains of the business, it is very tough. It is really very tough and very threatening also. Okay, when the preparation is being done, then you move to the next step. The next step is you go for discussion. In discussion, you emphasize listening and summarizing skills. What you need to avoid, interruptions. This is a very crucial thing to really try to inculcate in your own kind of sales pitching or in your own kind of negotiation activities. Avoid interruptions at any cost. Do not stop a man or a lady when he or she is talking to you. Listen. Avoid excessive talking. Do not try to be a pretty smart chap who can really try to influence people by the sweet talk and all. That really doesn't have any kind of meaning anymore. People are always going to be seeing the logic, the rationality, the feasibility, the way the product is being created, the way the product is being curated, you can say, and how this product is really going to be solving the problem of me. So don't get involved in excessive talking. Don't try to influence people by your nice words. Those days are gone. Sarcasm is a big no. You can never sound sarcastic to your esteemed audiences. That is a big no. Sarcasm and threats, of course, if you don't do this, if you don't sign on the dotted lines, then probably my company is not going to have any kind of business relationship with you anymore. That is more like a threat, and people are going to be taking sarcasm and threat very, very negatively. Trust me. And of course, you should really ensure that you have that listening and summarizing skills. Be a very smart and patient listener. Trust me, I can tell you from my own experience, the world is looking for good listeners, people who are ready to listen, people who are actively listening, not pretending to be listening, of course. They're actively listening and they are really showing the genuineness, the genuine concern in listening to people. And of course, you should be able to summarize, whatever discussion has really happened. The third step, as they say, is the signaling stage. In the signaling stage, what you do is you evaluate the effectiveness of signals and adjust if necessary. What is that signal really like? Body language tells the whole story. The audience is interested. They will really give you a very positive kind of feedback in terms of their kind of expressions, their eyes and the hand movements, the way they're really going to be on the edge of their seat and all. These are clear-cut signals that yes, your voice has really reached the right kind of person, and it has really been judged or evaluated in the right positive perspective. That is signaling for you. And probably signaling tells the whole story. Well, if you get the wrong signals, people are showing disinterest, people are not interested anymore to listen to you any further, and you feel that, well, the body language is really pretty humiliating, or pretty much kind of, not really concerning your kind of deliberations and all. You can really feel it. This is something which human beings are conditioned to really understand. You can really figure it out by yourself whether the body language coming from the other side is really positive, neutral, or negative. If it is negative, then you're pretty sure that this has not gone well with my audience. If it is neutral, then you might be really trying to really restore well and try to really move them to positivity. Once the signaling is over, then you go for the next. The next is your proposing. Choose your language carefully for conveying proposals. Many times, for the lack of the right business words or the professional words, people really feel flat on the teaching skills at all. Your choice of language has to be very carefully done, because you are conveying a business proposal, you are conveying a professional proposal, and try to use professional language do not sound very personal, although you know that a lot of the people sitting in front of you are well known to you. But this is a serious business proposal being floated. You have got to really speak the language of business and speak it well. Itemize your proposals and avoid interrupting when receiving proposals. You have got to itemize your proposals. These are the things that we are supposed to deliver to you: 1, 2, 3, 4, A, B, C. And these are the things that we do not promise to deliver to you: A, B, C, 1, 2, 3. So you should bring very much a clarity of thought to the table. Look, these are my clear-cut proposals. I do not really have any kind of feeling or any kind of thinking that I might just digress from a proposal as it really gets signed. No. Offer. The fifth stage is offer. You are reviewing both your opponents and your own objectives before making an offer. You have got to be really very much clear in your head. Look, this is the offer that I am supposed to be giving to my opponent. Consider all other possible variables in your offer. Your offer must really consisting of all possible scenarios, all possible kind of variables. If not this, then what? If not that, then what? You have got to be bringing that kind of plethora of options to the table. That is what is really good for your business and good for the understanding of your opposition. Bargaining. Keep everything conditional. If I do this, I can do this if A, B, C is satisfied, or 1, 2, 3 is being met. Determine what you require in exchange for concessions. If you are really trying to be surrendering to any kind of concessions, then you should really determine what you really require in exchange of that. Because as you already understand, that business is all about going for striking a deal which is really going to be helping both the parties understand that no one is really going to be going for a shared loss. Link all unsettled issues. That is pretty important. All the unsettled issues has got to be linked. You are not going to be bringing any kind of chaos, any kind of confusions at the latter stage. Be very clear from day one, from moment one, that these are the things that I am planning to deliver. These are the things I can never deliver to you. And stick to your plans, stick to your proposals. Try not to really, leave things which are really going to be read between the lines. This is a clear-cut business proposal where there should not be really left anything for imagination, for between the lines, as they say. And of course, the last is closing and agreeing. Decide where to stop trading. Like I told you, some minutes back, that you cannot just go on negotiating till eternity. There has to come a point where the negotiation stops and the real trading really happens. You have got to choose a closing strategy and choose it well. What is your closing strategy? List the agreement in detail, and if oral, send a written note to the opponent promptly after the meeting. There cannot be any kind of agreement which is only based on oral conversations. Nothing like it. Everything has to be a written document. Everything has to be really noted down in black and white. As simple as that. How do you really propose? I think proposals are central to negotiation. Discussions, opinions, and prejudices cannot be negotiated. Only proposals can. You cannot negotiate on discussions. You cannot negotiate on opinions, and you can never negotiate on prejudices. Proposals, if you have a written, well documented proposal, that can only be negotiated. That is true. So a proposal is an offer that establishes a realistic opening position. This is what my plan is. This is what I'm planning to do for you. These are the things that you can expect from me. So when you're presenting an initial proposal, that also involves stating the ideal position with language influencing the firmness of the position. You are not really going to be succumbing to any kind of pressure tactics at the latter moment. You are bringing much clarity into the table, into the discussion. These are my things which I am committed to deliver to you. Mark my words, these are the things that I am committed to deliver to you. I'm not going to go back on my words. I cannot possibly, and I don't have any intention of doing that as well. Secondary proposals aim to move toward common ground, often using tentative language. These are the secondary proposals, which is maybe going to be sounding a little bit more tentative, but that is the way it is. So, how do you present a proposal? So, keep a proposal separate from reasoning and justification. No need of going for reasoning, no need for going for justification. Why do I say what I say? No need, no need. I say this because this is the way I do business, or this is the way I really operate. Okay. I'm not going to lower the price because you are asking for it. I'm not going to lower the price because my boss has really directed me to do that. These things never work. These things should not work also. The party presenting the proposal gains an upper position as they can seek a response after presenting. If you are a party who is really presenting the proposal, you are almost always having an upper position because you can seek a response after the presentation. If people are happy about it, they're going to be giving a positive response. If they're really not moved by anything that you have really suggested, they might be just not agreeing on your proposal and all. Well, it may so happen that they are extremely happy and really kind of got persuaded by your presentation and all. So well, that might just work miraculously positive for you. How do you receive a proposal? If you are presenting, these are the things that I talked about. How to receive a proposal? If you are going to be someone who is really going to be, kind of receiving a proposal from someone else, avoid interrupting and instant rejection when receiving a proposal. No, it doesn't really look nice on me. I'm not really going to be going ahead with it. Don't rush to conclusions. Don't interrupt when somebody is really trying to be presenting a proposal. Interrupting may lead to missing potential concessions tagged at the end of a proposal. Well, you might get excited from the beginning. Look, I don't find these things on your proposal, so I reject it abruptly from the word go itself. That is just suicidal because you never know. The concessions might be just at the end of the proposal. Even if a proposal is unacceptable, so respect, listen carefully, ask clarifying questions, and respond appropriately. If the proposal is unacceptable, not a big deal. Not all proposals are supposed to be acceptable. Still, you have to remain calm, show respect, you have to listen carefully, and of course, ask clarifying questions if you just want to go ahead with the proposal even with the greater details. And of course, you have got the responsibility of responding appropriately for the proposal. Summarizing skill is crucial in handling proposals and counter proposals, keeping both parties focused on issues. You are going to ensure that both parties are discussing only on the issues that was supposed to discuss, not anything beyond that, not anything is exaggerated, not anything is suppressed. There can be adjournments to that also. The adjournment is to review and assess progress against set objectives. If it is positive, then you are happy. If it is not, then well, you stop it. The number and frequency of adjournments depend on negotiators' practices. You might just try to take it to its own logical conclusion after a few days. After you just want to take some time. If you want to take some time, there is no big issue involved in that. But the fact is, you are deliberately adjourning the proposal so that this is really going to be turning out in your favor. And many corporates have got this habit of trying to defer things so that a new kind of opinion might emerge, a new kind of proposal can really be created, or they might understand that well, someone might be really constant to bring the price down in their desperation to get the order from me. This might happen. How do you package the offer? Before bargaining, the offer should be suitably packaged. How do you package it? an offer is in negotiation is a considered activity responding to opening moves. You are going to be presenting variables in a form aligning more closely with the other party's interest and inhibitions. You have got to understand what is the other party's interest, what are the inhibitions, what they hate, what they like, as simple as that. Well, it doesn't mean that you are going to be succumbing to their interest or just desperately trying to avoid their inhibitions, but you are going to be taking care of those interests and those inhibitions as well. Creative consideration of possible variables is crucial before presenting the offer. Well, possible variables will be coming from both the sides, and you have got to give it a creative kind of a twist. Okay. Well, you might be just adding something which is not originally in the list, or you might just deviate a bit from your proposed straight-jacketed kind of a theme and try to add something which is not originally over there. You can do it. The next thing that you can do is go for bargaining. Intense phase is bargaining. I have told you that involves exchange, giving up something to gain something. It's as simple as that. Okay. The key rule is, or the thumb rule is that make all propositions and concessions conditional using the big if. If I do this, this is what you have got to do. If I don't do this, this is what again you have got to do. If you ask this particular kind of favor from me, this is what you have got to really give it back to me. So this big if, that is really going to be the heart of all bargaining. It is not going to be easy, smooth kind of a transition from giving up my kind of thing to accepting your kind of a thing. The road is not that pretty simple and straight. Present bargaining proposals are statements, not questions. Bargaining proposals has to be statements, not questions. You are not asking anything to anyone. You are suggesting what best you can do if the other person is ready to, kind of consider your kind of opinion or your kind of viewpoints and all. Formal proposals in this phase becoming more positive. When you are trying to come up with a real genuine proposal in this phase, this is really going to be more positive. Okay. And the last is your closing and agreeing. Closing aims to lead both parties to a final agreement. Closing package must meet opponent's needs to be acceptable. Two common types of clauses are concession clause and summary clause. Let's understand what is that closing really aims to do. Closing is a point where both parties are going to be agreeing finally. Now, there is no more debate or discussion or kind of, understanding again about the offer that you are trying to give to us. It has to be really coming from both the parties at the same time. Look, this is fine for me. The other party should equally really be, sounding pretty alert and say, yes, this is also nice for me. Closing package must meet opponent's needs to be acceptable. That is a thing which we really have been talking about. When you are going for a concession clause and you are going for a summary clause, you are going for a summary clause where things are accepted as they are. Maybe in a concession clause, you are going for things with a little bit of adjustment here and there, which is what really generally happens in many big deals, across corporate, across industries, across countries also. Can be another situation where there is a deadlock. No one is moving an inch. I don't really kind of go up. I won't allow you to move down also. So there is a deadlock. Deadlocks have a cost, especially if it is irresolvable. Keeping emotions out and finding common objectives is key. Sometimes there is a kind of a deadlock because of the wrong emotions really taking over the reasoning, the kind of, professionalism required to really keep the things floating. So you have got to understand that the emotions has to be out, and we are going to sit down and negotiate to overcome the deadlock. Okay. Now the most important and the interesting part is what kind of negotiation strategy really work. Just give me maybe 10 seconds. The very interesting negotiation strategy that we all come across is strike back. You are responding the same tone, same language, and occasionally used to show capability. You are responding, look, I am not going to be agreeing on this, or I am going to be agreeing on this. You are striking back. Can lead to futile and costly confrontations also. If you are too rigid, too much kind of going to be sticking to your own guns, then it might be just ending in a futile and pretty kind of costly confrontation. Is it really good? Probably not. Of course, there are exceptions, like if two countries are really going to be kind of negotiating about their own defense and stuff like that, then this strike back is really important. But if in a real genuine business deal, strike back doesn't really solve any purpose to my mind. Okay. Second can be the complete opposite of it, give in. Yielding due to discomfort in negotiations. You are saying yes, enough is enough, man. I just want to surrender and say yes. Results in unsatisfactory outcome and a reputation for weakness. Maybe the other guy is really going to be kind of belittling you, might feel that, well, this guy doesn't really have the wherewithal to really stand and resist my kind of things and all. He is succumbing because doesn't have a reputation. He is pretty new and uninitiated into this, so he doesn't have any other way rather than agreeing to my terms and conditions, which might not be really good in good for his own interest. Break off can be another strategy. Avoidance as a strategy, appropriate in certain situations. Avoid. Look, I'm not interested in this. I'll get back to you this, get back to you on this on some other day. High costs associated with the breaking off, often a regrettable hasty reaction. If you are in a haste to say no or to say yes, it is going to be leading to a break off. So a break off is always going to be involving a lot of cost, because you have taken pain for so long to really try to systematically go through the chain of negotiation. Now you are reaching a point where you are trying to break off because you are in a rush or you are in a hurry for that. So what kind of communication can really happen during negotiation? That is very interesting to understand. High pressure communicator is a overly aggressive and insensitive kind of a guy who doesn't really have any kind of empathy for his opponent, for his person sitting at the other side of the table, and can also be self-defeating. This is pretty dangerous, very aggressive, very much insensitive, doesn't really care what the other guy is going to go through or is really going to be feeling like and all. That really doesn't work. There can be little interest communicator, displays little interest in the process, take it or leave it attitude. Okay, this is a very little interest, kind of communication process where you are not really so much engrossed into the entire process of negotiation. It is a pretty maybe, sometimes it may really sound like it's a pretty low price kind of a deal, or this may be really going to resulting in not a big kind of benefit to either of the parties. So you are in a position where you are going to say, take it or leave it. I mean, it's your choice. I am ready to sell it off at this kind of conditions. If you agree with it, fine. If you don't agree, also fine with me. Do you really believe that this works? Go back, go back and give it a thought. If it works, it might be working in pretty sporadic activities, pretty sporadic kind of business scenarios. Take it or leave it. But I think in today's world, when you are having plethora of products, a multitude of services being on offer, having the guts to say take it or leave it requires a different level of, devil may care kind of an attitude for the customer. Okay, weak communicator can be another kind of reaction. You are overly sensitive to the other person's needs. You lack persuasion and commitment. You are just thinking the way the customer thinks, or you are just thinking the way the other guy is going to be thinking, like, which is good, but you are going to be really trying to surrender your own needs, your own kind of interest to the interest of the other guy, which might be self-defeating at times. Why at times? Many times it might be just self-defeating for you as a business organization. Because you are in business, you are not here to do charity for people at large. Charity is different, but when you're doing business, you are going to be protecting your own interest at any cost. So this weak communicator is a very dangerous kind of a person for a business to have. Ideal or assertive communicator. The next type is you understand the other person's ideas. You are very firm about your own. You achieve your agreement and commitment to satisfy both sides. This is the most ideal or assertive kind of a communicator who understands that there is a person who has to be understood, Yeah. At the same time, I'm also not going to sacrifice my own kind of region, my own kind of interest, my own kind of business, kind of priorities. And you are going to be achieving agreement and commitment to satisfy both the sides. The other person's need is satisfied, so also yours. The other person's business is going to the gainer, so also yours. The other person is going to be happy, so also you. So it is going to be both way kind of a thing, which is really very good for any kind of business to really go ahead with it. So what are principles of negotiation? First, I think to my mind, what really strikes me instantly is a mutually agreeable kind of an outcome. Negotiation aims for a win-win outcome for both parties, as I already told you. It has to be a mutually agreeable outcome if it is really going to be a sustainable business kind of activity between two parties concerned. Preparation and planning. Never neglect preparation. Have a clear plan. That is a must. Choose the right starting point. I think many business ideas fail and fail flat because the timing was incorrect. You have to choose the right starting point. Equality and mutual respect. Participants must regard each other as equals. I'm a big farm, so I'm going to be kind of showing my dominance, showing my big brother kind of an attitude to the smaller farm. Doesn't work. May work for once or for twice, but long run, well, offending someone or ignoring someone or really trying to be being that, big brother doesn't really work for a longer duration of time. Mutual respect is essential for the conduct and outcome of negotiation. Respect and respect for both. You respect me, I don't respect you, or I respect you, you don't respect me is not going to work. You have got to have a sense of respect, a sense of reverence for me, so that the business deal is really going to be carried out to the next stage. Discussion, not debate. That's my fourth principle. Negotiation is a discussion. Remember it, please. Not a debate. You are not really going to be winning brownie point over here. You are not really trying to be demonstrating your speaking ability here. You are trying to go for a discussion which is revolving around the business idea, the business proposal, and the pluses and minuses of it, the gains and losses of it. That's it. You're not really going to be entering into a fiery debate with someone. It's like I'm going to be winning and really trying to be decimating you. No, each person must assert their position without dominating or showing one upmanship. Like I told you, that I am a little bit, smarter than you, a little bit agile than you. No, fine, you may be smart guy, you may be pretty agile, even more agile than I am, but you are not supposed to be really, showing that one upmanship to me. That really offends me. Patience is crucial. My fifth principle is patience, which is very crucial. Avoid rushing into decision making. The people, like I told you a few minutes back, the people who are trying to be taking a decision in a haste are always invariably going to be taking a wrong decision. I repeat, if you are in a real hurry, do not take any decision at all. It is better to wait than rush to a decision and regret later. Delay is preferable to a poor outcome, as they say. If you want to delay it and you are going to be the gainer out of it, do it. But let's not go for any kind of poor outcome. That is more dangerous than a delayed outcome. It is not in case of like the proverb goes, justice delayed is justice denied. That doesn't really suit here. Here the thing is that it's better to really get it delayed than to get a wrong outcome. Empathy, understand others' point of view objectively. Empathy is a vital characteristics. You have got to understand that there is another person who is really going to be thinking and think like a human being. Your objective should be very clear. Avoid confrontation, aim high, maintain stamina for extended period of negotiation. Your aim should be very high. You are not supposed to really engage in any kind of confrontation with your, kind of participants and all. Never try to underestimate people. Like I told you, you have got to respect that the other person sitting across the table is as important as me. He has got to really show that kind of respect, which he has unfailingly shown to me, and end positively. Neither party will get exactly what they want. This is the cardinal golden principle of negotiation. You are not supposed to get whatever you really planned for in the beginning. You have got to really go for the final deal, and the final deal should be agreeable to both the parties. And of course, you have to end on a positive note. Okay. To sum up what we discussed for last almost 1 hour, negotiation is about achieving a mutually agreeable outcome. I said mutually agreeable because it has got to really offend no one and satisfy everyone. Emphasizing a win-win situation. It's not a win-lose or lose-win or lose-lose. It has to be a win-win situation. I win and you win. Therefore, you are happy and I am happy. That is the essence of negotiation. Equality for both, respect mutually, patience and empathy are the key characteristics. Clear communication of objectives, avoidance of confrontation, and maintaining stamina are crucial. Aiming high, knowing when to drop a deal, and ending positively are essential principles of negotiation. I hope the lesson that we learned today has got some usefulness for you in your academic life as well as professional life. Thank you for being a patient group of listeners. Thank you all.